Tuesday morning, April 15th, 2025, 9:47 a.m. I remember because I was watching the clock, waiting for the plumber. My water heater had died sometime during the night. No hot water for my morning coffee. No shower. At 68 years old, you appreciate the small comforts. Hot water is not a small comfort. Tom Ferraro arrived exactly on time. He always did. I'd used his services for years. Always 10 minutes early. Always brought his own coffee in a travel mug. A good man. Honest. "Morning, Mrs. Thompson," he said. "Water heater's in the basement, right?" "Yes," I said. "Let me get the key." I hadn't been down to the basement in months, maybe longer. My son David had told me there was water damage, some leak he was handling. "Don't worry about it, Mom," he'd said. "I'll take care of everything." So I didn't worry about it. I trusted him. I should mention, David had a key to my house. He'd had one since his father died 5 years ago. He checked on me, came by every week, made sure I was okay. That's what good sons do. I found the spare basement key in the kitchen drawer, the one David didn't know about. Tom followed me to the basement door. I unlocked it. The air that came up was different, not musty like I expected. It smelled like perfume. Several different kinds. And cologne. And something else I couldn't place. "When's the last time you came down here?" Tom asked. I thought about it. 6 months? Maybe more? He started down the stairs. I followed. And that's when I saw it. Furniture. A bed. A full-size bed with a comforter I didn't recognize. A nightstand. A dresser. A mini fridge humming in the corner. The concrete walls had been painted. Beige. There were curtains on the small basement windows. Real curtains with a pattern. "Mrs. Thompson," Tom said carefully, "this doesn't look like water damage." I stood there. My basement. The basement where David used to play as a boy, where my late husband Jim built him a rec room, where we had his 8th birthday party. I could still picture the balloons, David's face when Jim came out dressed as a clown, but now it looked like someone's apartment. There were smart locks on the inside of the door, the kind you control with your phone. There was a small kitchenette area I didn't remember, a microwave, a sink, a counter. When had that been installed? Tom walked over to a makeshift desk, just a folding table with a chair. There were papers spread across it. "Mrs. Thompson," he said. His voice was different now, uncomfortable. "You need to see this." I walked over. The papers were printed pages, reviews, 5-star reviews. Great location. Host was very responsive. Clean, quiet space. Perfect for my business trip. Would definitely stay here again. Convenient to downtown. At the top of the first page, I saw it. The listing, my address, my house, and the host name, David T. "I don't understand," I said, but I was starting to. Tom looked at me. "Mrs. Thompson, I think this has been rented out." 48 reviews. I counted them. 48 different people had stayed in my basement, in my house. And I hadn't known. My son. The boy I raised. The man I trusted with my house key. I picked up one of the papers with a shaking hand. The listing description was printed there too. Cozy private suite. Walk to downtown. Full bath. Private entrance. Private entrance. I looked around. There, on the far wall, a door I hadn't noticed. A new door cut into the foundation, leading outside. "I'm sorry," Tom said quietly. "I didn't mean to. I was just looking for the water heater access." "It's not your fault," I said. I couldn't stop staring at the reviews. 48 reviews. How long does it take to get 48 reviews? That's when I saw the calendar on the desk next to the reviews. A printed calendar with dates marked, names written in, neat handwriting, David's handwriting. The next booking was in 3 days. "Mrs. Thompson?" Tom asked. "Are you okay?" I looked at him. Was I okay? I was standing in my own basement, a basement I hadn't recognized, where my son had been running some kind of rental business, without telling me, without asking me. "I thought I knew my son," I said. Tom didn't say anything, What could he say? I stood there in that basement. The air smelled wrong. The walls looked wrong. Everything was wrong. And the worst part? The absolute worst part? I'd believed him. Every time David told me not to worry, every time he said he'd handle it, every time he said the basement had water damage, I'd believed him. Because he was my son. And you trust your children, don't you? I should probably tell you about my life, about how I got here, standing in my basement staring at evidence that my son had been lying to me. My name is Margaret Thompson. Everyone calls me Maggie. I'm 68 years old. I've lived in this house for 35 years. Jim and I bought it in 1990. 4 bedrooms, 2.5 baths, split level. We raised David here. Jim died 5 years ago. Heart attack. He was 63. One day he was fine. The next day, he was gone. That's how it happens sometimes. I was a teacher, 3rd grade, 30 years at Roosevelt Elementary. I retired 3 years ago. My pension is decent, $3,200 a month, plus Jim's life insurance, $250,000. I invested most of it. I'm comfortable, not wealthy, but comfortable. I live alone now, have for 5 years. David checks on me, or he used to. I thought he did. David is my only child, 42 years old, married to Jennifer for 15 years. They have 2 children, Emma, who's 8, and Jack, who's 6. My grandchildren. I love them more than anything. I helped David a lot over the years. When he wanted to buy his first house, I co-signed the loan and gave him $40,000 for the down payment. When Emma and Jack were in private school, I paid $15,000 a year for 3 years, $45,000 total. When David got married, I paid for most of the wedding, $25,000. When he wanted to start his consulting business, I co-signed a loan for $20,000. When he needed a car, I helped with $10,000. Over the years, I gave my son about $140,000. I thought I was helping him build his future. I thought I was being a good mother. Tom, the plumber, was still standing in my basement. He looked uncomfortable, like he'd walked in on something he shouldn't have seen. "I can come back another time," he said, "for the water heater." "No," I said. "Stay, please. I need a witness." He nodded. Tom Ferraro, 55 years old, runs his own plumbing business, 25 years in the trade. He's worked on my house before, always early, always brings his own coffee, a reliable man. His sister went through something similar, he told me once. Her son stole from her. That's why he understood immediately what he was looking at. I took photos with my phone, the bed, the furniture, the kitchenette, the smart locks, the reviews on the desk, the calendar with the next booking marked. "I should call someone," I said. "Who?" Tom asked. "Good question. Who do you call when you find out your son has been running an illegal rental business in your basement? The police? A lawyer? David himself? I didn't know. My neighbor Dorothy would know what to do. Dorothy Patterson, 70 years old, lives 3 houses down. We've been friends for 10 years. Book club every Thursday. She walks her dog Buster past my house every morning at 8:15, always waves through my kitchen window. Dorothy had mentioned something to me a few months ago. She'd said she saw different cars in my driveway, different people coming and going. I told her it was probably David helping with yard work, or friends of his. I dismissed it. I should have listened. But I didn't want to believe my son would lie to me. I didn't want conflict. I've always been like that, conflict avoidant. My whole life. Keep the peace. Don't rock the boat. Trust that people mean well. That's my flaw. I see it now. I believed David when he said there was water damage in the basement, when he said he'd handle it, when he said I didn't need to worry. I believed him because questioning him felt like accusing him, and I couldn't accuse my own son, could I? I should mention, David lost his job 3 years ago. Middle management position at a software company. They downsized. It wasn't his fault. He found another job, but it paid 40% less, from $95,000 a year to $57,000. That's a big drop when you have a mortgage and 2 kids. And Jennifer, David's wife, got sick 4 years ago. Lupus, an autoimmune disease. She can't work full-time anymore. She used to teach elementary school, like me. But now she's on disability, and the medical bills are enormous. $40,000 in debt, David told me once. Insurance doesn't cover everything. I knew they were struggling. I knew money was tight, but I thought if they needed help, they'd ask me, like they always had before. I didn't think they'd do this. Tom cleared his throat. Mrs. Thompson, I need to look at your water heater, but I think you should probably deal with this first. Yes, I said. You're right. I looked around the basement one more time. This room used to be different. When David was little, this was his playroom. Jim built him a rec room down here. Carpet, drywall, paint. Jim was so proud of it, he built it himself. Summer of 1998. David was 10 years old. We had David's birthday parties down here. His friends would come over. Jim would make them laugh. One year, Jim dressed up as a clown. David's face lit up. I can still see it. But that was a long time ago. Now this room was someone else's apartment. Strangers had slept in here. Dozens of them. In my house. In my basement. And I hadn't known. I need to go, I said to Tom. I understand, he said. Call me when you're ready to fix the water heater. Thank you, I said, for being honest, for showing me. I'm sorry, Mrs. Thompson, he said. I walked back upstairs. Tom followed. I let him out the front door. He gave me his card. If you need anything, he said, a witness, a statement, whatever. Thank you, I said again. I closed the door. I stood in my living room. The same living room I'd stood in for 35 years, but it felt different now. My house felt different now. I walked to the kitchen. I made coffee. My morning routine. I always sat at the kitchen table by the window. I could see my backyard from there, my garden, the flowers I'd planted last spring. I sat down with my coffee, Jim's old Navy mug, the one I always used. The handle was chipped, but I liked it. I sat there and I thought about my son, the boy who used to play in that basement, the boy who laughed at his father's clown costume, the boy I raised alone for the last 10 years after Jim died. Where did that boy go? When did he become someone who could lie to me for months? Years, maybe? I didn't know. I opened the photo album I kept on the kitchen counter. Old pictures. David as a child. David's 8th birthday in the basement. Jim in the clown costume. David's face so happy. I looked at that picture for a long time. Then I closed the album. I finished my coffee. I rinsed the mug. I put it in the dish rack. And I thought about what I was going to do next. I clicked on everything. Every review, every photo. The booking calendar. The calendar showed dates going back 2 years, maybe longer. Some months were nearly full. 25 nights booked. 30 nights. The listing had been active since September of 2022. That was 26 months ago. Over 2 years. I started taking screenshots. Everything. The listing, the reviews, the calendar, the host profile, David's profile. It had a photo of him, smiling, professional, experienced host, quick to respond, dedicated to guest satisfaction. I wanted to laugh or cry. I wasn't sure which. The nightly rate was $85. Some nights it was more. Weekends, holidays. I tried to do the math in my head. How many nights? How much money? But I couldn't focus. I needed to check something else. I went to my desk in the spare bedroom. I keep my files organized. Bills in one folder, bank statements in another, insurance in another. I pulled out my utility bills, water and electric. I went back 2 years. I laid them out on the desk in order, and I saw it immediately. My water bill had gone up. Not a little, a lot. It used to average $90 a month. But starting in September 2022, it jumped to $150, sometimes $160. My electric bill was the same. Used to be $130 a month. Then it jumped to $175, $180, an extra $60 a month for water, an extra $45 a month for electric, for 26 months. I did the math this time, carefully. $1,560 extra on water, $1,170 extra on electric, $2,730. David had been paying my utilities for the past year. He'd insisted on it. "Let me help you, Mom," he'd said. "You're on a fixed income." Now I understood why. He was covering the increased costs, the costs from the people staying in my basement. I sat there looking at the bills. Then I picked up my phone. I called David. He answered on the second ring. "Hey, Mom, what's up?" His voice was normal, casual, like nothing was wrong. "David," I said, "I need to ask you something." "Sure, what is it?" "I found something online today, a listing for my basement." Silence. Then, "Mom, I can explain." "Can you?" "It's not what you think." "What do I think, David?" "It's complicated. Try me." He sighed. "Okay, look, yes, I've been renting out your basement, but it's not a big deal. You never go down there. You said yourself you haven't been down there in months. You've been renting my basement." "Yes?" "Without asking me." "I was going to tell you." "When?" "I don't know. When the time was right." "The time was right before you did it, David, not after 2 years." "It hasn't been 2 years. The listing says September 2022. That's 26 months. He didn't answer. "How much money have you made?" I asked. "Mom, that's not important." "How much?" "I don't know. I'd have to look at my records." "I think you know." Another silence. Then he said, "We needed the money, Jennifer's medical bills, the kids' expenses. We were drowning, Mom. I didn't know what else to do." "You could have asked me. I've helped you before." "I couldn't keep asking you for money. I'm 42 years old. I should be able to take care of my own family. So instead, you used my house, my property, without my permission. I was protecting you from worry. You were protecting yourself from honesty." His voice changed, got harder. "Mom, I need to come over. We need to talk about this in person." Something in his tone made me nervous. "I don't think that's a good idea right now," I said. "I'm coming over," he said. "I'll be there in 20 minutes. He hung up. I sat there holding the phone. 20 minutes. What was I supposed to do? What if he tried to remove evidence, the furniture, the calendar, the reviews he'd printed out? I called Tom, the plumber. "Mrs. Thompson?" he answered. "Tom, can you come back? Today? Now? Is everything okay?" "My son is coming over. I just confronted him on the phone. I need a witness." "I'll be there in 15 minutes, he said. "Thank you." I hung up. I looked at the clock. 3:30 in the afternoon. I went back to my laptop. I needed to find more information. I checked my email. I searched for David's name, for my address, for anything. That's when I found it. In my spam folder, an email from 2 months ago. Subject line: "Complaint about recent stay." I opened it. It was from someone named Robert Chen. He'd stayed in my basement in February. He was complaining about noise, about me, about hearing me walking around upstairs, about my television being too loud. He was complaining to David, but the email had been sent to my email address, forwarded from David's account. I checked the email header. David had access to my email. He had my password. I'd given it to him years ago when I needed help with something technical. "Just in case you need help, Mom," he'd said. He'd been monitoring my email, or he had access to it. Either way, he knew about this complaint, and he'd let it go to my spam folder. How many other emails had there been? I heard a knock at the door. Tom. Already. I let him in. "Thank you for coming back." "No problem," he said. "You doing okay?" "No," I said honestly. "Your son coming over?" "Yes, any minute now." "You want me to stay, just be here?" "Yes, please." We sat in the living room. Tom drank water from a glass I gave him. I couldn't sit still. I kept getting up, looking out the window. My neighbor Dorothy walked by with her dog. She saw me through the window. She waved. Then she noticed Tom's truck still in my driveway. She looked concerned. A minute later, she knocked on the door. I opened it. "Maggie," she said, "is everything okay?" I saw Tom's truck. Are you having plumbing problems? Dorothy, can you come in for a minute? She came in. She saw Tom. She saw my face. What's wrong? She asked. Dorothy, you remember when you told me you saw different cars in my driveway, different people? Yes, you were right. David's been renting out my basement on Airbnb for over 2 years. Her mouth opened. What? He's coming over right now. I just confronted him on the phone. Oh, Maggie, she took my hand. I'm so sorry. I should have said something sooner. It's not your fault, I said. We heard a car pull up outside. David, I looked at Tom, at Dorothy. I was grateful they were there. You ready? Tom asked. No, I said, but let's do this anyway. I opened the door before David could knock. He stood on my porch. He looked different, tired, older, or maybe I just saw him differently now. Mom, he said, we need to talk. I looked at my son, the boy from the photographs, the man on the porch, and I realized I didn't know him at all. David didn't come in. I didn't invite him. We stood on the porch, Tom and Dorothy behind me, a united front. Mom, David said, can we talk alone? No, I said. Whatever you need to say, you can say here. He looked at Tom, at Dorothy, back at me. This is family business. This is my business, I said. My house, my property, that you used without my permission. I'll explain everything. Just let me in. No. He stared at me. I'd never said no to him like this before. Firm, final. Fine, he said. His voice got cold. You want to do this the hard way? We'll do it the hard way. He turned and walked back to his car. I watched him drive away. Dorothy put her hand on my shoulder. You did the right thing? I wasn't sure. I wasn't sure about anything anymore. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about the numbers, the reviews, the calendar. How much money had David made? I got up at 3 a.m. I went to the kitchen. I made coffee. And I sat down at the table with my laptop. I opened the Airbnb listing again. I looked at every single review, 48 reviews. I started taking notes. The reviews went back to October 2022. The first one was dated October 7th. Great stay, clean and convenient. I counted the bookings. Some guests didn't leave reviews, but based on the calendar, I could see the patterns. September 2022 through March 2025. 26 months. David charged $85 per night, sometimes more. Weekends were $95. Holidays were $110. I did the math carefully. Average 22 nights booked per month, times $85. That's $1,870 per month, times 26 months. $48,620. But that was just the base rate, cleaning fees, service charges, weekend upcharges, holiday rates. I kept calculating, adding, checking. The number got bigger, 55,000, 60,000, 63,000. I sat there at my kitchen table. The sun was coming up. My coffee was cold. The printer was running. I was printing everything. Every review, every calendar page, the full listing, the pricing breakdown, page after page, proof. And then I did the final calculation, based on the calendar, based on the rates, based on everything I could see. David had made approximately $63,847 from my basement, from my house, from my property. Over 26 months, $63,000. I sat there looking at the numbers, the printed pages spread across my kitchen table, and I thought, my son stole $63,000 from me. Not a stranger, not someone I didn't know. My son, the boy I raised in this house, the boy whose birthday parties we had in that basement. He stole $63,000 from me, and he would have kept going if Tom hadn't needed to fix the water heater, if I hadn't gone down to that basement. David would still be renting it out right now. The next booking was supposed to be today, Friday. Some business traveler named Marcus who'd paid $95 for 2 nights. I picked up my phone. I opened the Airbnb app. I searched for David's email in my saved passwords. I found it. The password I'd reset for him years ago when he forgot it. I logged in as him, and I canceled the booking. Host has canceled due to property emergency, I wrote. Full refund issued. Then I printed everything else. David's bank statements. I could access them because I was still listed as a co-signer from that loan years ago. The bank let me view his accounts online. The deposits were right there. Regular deposits from Airbnb Inc., $2,000, $3,000, $2,500, month after month, for 26 months. I printed those too. I looked at my utility bills again, the increases. I calculated the exact amount David had stolen from me just in utilities, $2,808 over 26 months. Total stolen, $66,655. I needed more evidence. I needed everything documented. I went down to the basement. I took photos with my phone, every angle, the bed, the furniture, the smart locks, the kitchenette, the private entrance David had cut into my foundation. I found receipts in the trash can. IKEA purchases. $847 for furniture. A mini fridge from Best Buy. $189. The smart lock from Amazon. $230. I found a guest logbook hidden in the nightstand drawer. Handwritten entries. Names. Dates. Comments. Great stay. Robert. Oct 2022. Comfortable and clean. Sarah. Nov. 2022. Perfect for my work trip. Michael, Jan 2023. On and on, dozens of entries, dozens of strangers who'd slept in my house. I photographed every page. Dorothy came over at 8 in the morning. She brought me casserole and coffee. "You look exhausted," she said. "I've been up all night, gathering evidence." She saw the papers spread across my kitchen table, the printer still running, the photos on my phone. "Maggie," she said gently, "you need help with this." "I know." "You need a lawyer." "I know." She pulled out her phone. "My friend Linda went through something similar. Her son-in-law took money from her. She used an attorney named Susan Brennan, elder law. She specializes in this kind of thing." "Elder law?" "Financial exploitation of vulnerable adults. That's what this is, Maggie, but legally." I didn't think of myself as vulnerable, but I suppose I was. I'd been vulnerable to trusting my own son. Dorothy called Susan Brennan's office. She got me an appointment. That afternoon, 1 o'clock. At 12:30, I gathered everything, all the printed pages, the photos on my phone, the utility bills, the bank statements. I put them in a folder. Susan Brennan's office was downtown, a small building, second floor. The waiting room was quiet, professional. Susan came out to meet me. She was in her early 50s, sharp eyes, serious expression. She shook my hand firmly. "Mrs. Thompson, come in." Her office was lined with law books, certificates on the wall, 20 years of elder law experience. I sat down. I opened my folder. I spread everything on her desk. "My son," I said, "has been renting out my basement on Airbnb for 26 months without my knowledge or permission." Susan looked at the papers. She didn't say anything at first, just looked, reading, calculating. Then she looked up at me. "Mrs. Thompson," she said, "this is financial exploitation of a vulnerable adult. It's serious, it's illegal, and it's unfortunately more common than people realize. What can I do? We can pursue civil action, sue for restitution, full repayment. We can also report this to Adult Protective Services. There may be criminal charges, fraud, theft, trespassing." "Criminal charges? Against my son?" "Yes, if you choose that route." I sat back. "Criminal charges. Against David." "What do you recommend?" I asked. "First, we document everything, which you've already started doing. Excellent work, by the way. Very thorough. Second, we determine what you want. Do you want your money back? Do you want him prosecuted? Do you want to maintain a relationship with him?" I didn't know how to answer that. "I want my money back," I said finally. "I want him to know he can't do this to me, but I don't know about the rest." Susan nodded. "We can start with a civil suit, demand full restitution. If he refuses, we escalate. But we need to move carefully, and we need to protect your property." "How?" "Change all your locks, today. Make sure he can't access the basement. Cancel any future bookings, which I see you've already done. Document everything, every conversation, every text, every interaction. Okay? And Mrs. Thompson, you need to prepare yourself. This is going to get difficult. He's going to push back. He's going to say he was helping you. He's going to make excuses. You need to be ready for that." "I'm ready," I said, but I wasn't sure if that was true. That evening, I sat in my kitchen again. Everything was different now. My house felt different. My life felt different. I looked at the folder of evidence, proof, undeniable proof that my son had betrayed me. I thought about Emma and Jack, my grandchildren. Would I lose them over this? Would David keep them from me? I looked at the photos on my refrigerator, Emma's school picture, Jack's gap-toothed smile. I loved them so much, but I couldn't let David keep stealing from me. I couldn't. I picked up my phone. I was going to text Dorothy, ask her for advice, but I accidentally selected David's name instead, and I sent the text before I realized my mistake. "Meeting with lawyer tomorrow. Have evidence of everything." I stared at the screen. No. 3 dots appeared. David was typing. "So that's how you want to do this? Fine, Mom. Fine." My hands were shaking. Then another text came through. "If you sue me, you'll never see Emma and Jack again. I mean it." I put the phone down. I sat there for a long time, and I realized this was going to be a war. That night, I didn't sleep. Again. I kept thinking about David's text, about Emma and Jack, about my son threatening to take my grandchildren away from me. It was a manipulation tactic. I knew that. Susan had warned me. He'll use whatever leverage he has, family, guilt, fear. I knew it was manipulation, but it still hurt. At 6 a.m, I got up. I made coffee. I stood at my kitchen window looking at the backyard, the garden I'd planted last spring, the flowers Jim and I had chosen together years ago, perennials that came back every year. I thought about my life, about the choices I'd made, about the person I'd been, conflict avoidant. That's what I'd always been. Keep the peace, don't make waves, trust people, give them the benefit of the doubt. My whole life I'd chosen harmony over truth, chosen trust over boundaries. And where had it gotten me? Standing in my kitchen at 6 a.m, threatened by my own son, afraid to see my own grandchildren. That's where it had gotten me. I finished my coffee. I rinsed Jim's navy mug. I put it in the dish rack, and I made a decision. I went down to the basement. It was 7 o'clock in the morning. The sun was coming through those small windows, the ones David had put curtains on, for the guests, for the strangers who'd slept in my house. I looked at the bed, the furniture, the mini fridge humming in the corner, and I started moving it. The bed was heavy. I dragged it piece by piece, the frame, the mattress, the box spring. I pulled it across the floor, up the stairs, one piece at a time. I was 68 years old. I was sweating. My back hurt. My arms shook. But I kept going. The dresser, the nightstand, the folding desk, the chair. Every single piece of furniture David had put in my basement without asking me. I dragged it all upstairs, out to the driveway. It took me 2 hours. When I was done, I called Goodwill. "I have furniture to donate. Can you pick it up today?" They said yes. They'd be there by noon. I went back down to the basement. It was empty now, just concrete floors, painted walls, the kitchenette David had installed, the smart locks on the door. But no furniture, no bed, no apartment. Just my basement again. I sat down on the basement steps where David used to sit when he was a boy, where he'd eat popsicles in the summer, where Jim would sit with him and teach him things, how to tie his shoes, how to throw a baseball. This room used to be different. I remember David's 8th birthday party, September 1998, 27 years ago. We decorated this whole room, balloons, streamers, a banner that said, "Happy Birthday, David." Jim had dressed up as a clown, red nose, big shoes, face paint. He'd made balloon animals for all the kids. David had laughed so hard, his face lit up. Pure joy. I could still see it. That little boy. That happy face. But that was 27 years ago. That little boy was gone. The man who'd replaced him was someone I didn't recognize. Someone who could look me in the eye every week and lie to me. Someone who could use my house for profit. Someone who could threaten to keep my grandchildren from me. When did he change? Or had he always been like this and I just didn't see it? I didn't know. What I did know was this. I wasn't his mother anymore. I was his mark, his opportunity, his ATM machine, and I was done being that. I stood up. I walked back upstairs. I called a locksmith. "I need all my locks changed. Today. Can you come?" "We can be there at 2 o'clock. "Perfect." I called Susan, my attorney. "Susan, it's Margaret Thompson. I'm ready to move forward. I want to file a civil suit. Full restitution. I want legal boundaries. I want everything documented." "Good," she said. "I'll draw up the papers. We'll need to move quickly. Can you come to my office Monday morning?" "Yes." "And Margaret? You're doing the right thing." I hoped so. I sat down at my laptop. I logged into David's Airbnb account again. The next booking was supposed to be Saturday. A couple from Chicago. 3 nights, $275. I canceled it. Property no longer available for rental. Listing removed. Sincere apologies. Then I deleted the entire listing. David's Airbnb business in my basement was over. By noon, Goodwill had picked up the furniture. By 2 o'clock, the locksmith had changed every lock in my house. Front door, back door, basement door, all of them. New keys. David didn't have copies. My house was mine again. I was sitting in my kitchen when my phone rang. Jennifer, David's wife. I almost didn't answer, but I did. "Maggie?" Her voice was shaky, crying. "Jennifer." "Maggie, please, please don't do this. We can work this out, as a family. We don't need lawyers. We don't need courts." "Jennifer, David stole from me for over 2 years. He was desperate. We were desperate. The medical bills, my lupus. We didn't know what else to do. You could have asked me. I would have helped you. I always have. David was too ashamed. He didn't want to keep asking you for money. So instead, he took it without asking." She was crying harder now. "Maggie, if you sue him, we'll lose everything. Our house, everything. The kids will have to change schools. Their whole lives will fall apart." I felt it then. The guilt, the old feeling, the pull to make peace, to smooth things over, to put someone else's needs ahead of my own. It would be so easy to forgive, to forget, to let David pay me back slowly, to keep the family together. So easy. But I thought about Susan's words. This is financial exploitation. This is serious. I thought about the $63,000, the lies, the manipulation, the threat about my grandchildren, and I thought about myself, about who I'd been, and who I needed to be now. "Jennifer," I said, "I'm sorry you're struggling. I really am. But David made choices. He chose to lie to me. He chose to use my property. He chose to threaten me when I found out. These are his consequences, not mine. Maggie, please." "I have to go," I said. I hung up. My hands were shaking, but I'd done it. I'd held my boundary. That evening, I was in my basement again. I'd brought down Jim's old toolbox. It was still in the corner where he'd left it 5 years ago, before he died. Jim had taught David how to use tools, right here in this basement, how to hammer a nail, how to use a level, how to measure twice and cut once. Jim had been so proud of this room, he'd built it for David. Every boy needs a place to play, he'd said, but David had turned it into a crime scene. I opened Jim's toolbox. His hammer was still there, his level, his tape measure. I picked up the hammer. It was heavy, solid. Jim's hands had held this hammer, built things with it, fixed things. I wondered what Jim would think of all this, of David, of what he'd done. Would Jim have seen it coming? Would he have stopped it? I didn't know. I put the hammer back in the toolbox. I closed it. Then my phone buzzed. A voicemail from David. I listened to it. His voice was different, broken, quiet. "Mom," he said, "I'm so sorry. I know I've ruined everything. I was ashamed. I couldn't tell you how bad things were. I kept thinking I could fix it before you found out. I kept thinking the next month would be different. And then it got out of control. Jennifer's crying. The kids are asking questions. I don't know what to tell them. I don't know what to tell anyone. I'm sorry, Mom. I'm so sorry. I've destroyed everything, and I don't know how to fix it." The message ended. I stood there holding my phone. Part of me wanted to call him back, to tell him it was okay, to fix it for him, like I always had. But the rest of me knew it wasn't okay, and I couldn't fix it. Not this time. This was his mess, his choices, his consequences. I sat on the basement steps, my son's playroom, then his crime scene, now mine again. I didn't know if I'd ever forgive him. Maybe I would, maybe I wouldn't. But I knew I wouldn't let him use me anymore. I sat there quietly, and I knew what I had to do. The weekend was quiet. Too quiet. No calls from David, no texts, nothing. Dorothy checked on me Saturday morning. She brought muffins and coffee. "How are you holding up?" she asked. "I don't know," I said honestly. "I keep waiting for the other shoe to drop." "He'll push back," Dorothy said. "They always do. But you're doing the right thing." Monday morning, I met with Susan at her office. She had the papers ready, a civil complaint, demanding full restitution, $66,655, plus legal fees, plus damages. "If you sign this," Susan said, "we file it with the court. David will be served. He'll have 30 days to respond. Then we proceed to mediation or trial." I looked at the papers. My son's name in black and white. Defendant. I signed them. "Good," Susan said. "Now, I need to tell you about some complications." "Complications?" "Your basement. The modifications David made. The separate entrance. The kitchenette. None of that was permitted. The city could fine you. Anywhere from $500 to $5,000. "But I didn't know about it." "I know. But it's your property. Legally, you're responsible. We can fight it. Show you had no knowledge. But it's a risk." "What else?" "Insurance. If a guest had been injured in that basement, they could have sued you. Your homeowner's insurance would be invalid because you didn't disclose the rental activity." "But I didn't know." "I understand. But these are the risks David created for you. Financial liability, legal liability, property liability. We need to address all of it." I felt the weight of it. This wasn't just about the money he'd stolen. It was about the exposure, the vulnerability, the legal mess. "There's one more thing," Susan said. "David could try to claim adverse possession of the basement. It's a stretch. But if he can prove he used it openly for 2 years, maintained it, improved it, he might argue he has some claim to it." "That's ridiculous." "I agree. But we need to be prepared. We need to document that you never gave permission, that you had no knowledge, that the moment you found out, you took action." "I did. I changed the locks. I removed the furniture. I canceled the bookings." "Exactly. That helps us. But we need to move quickly. We can't let this drag out." I left Susan's office feeling overwhelmed. This was bigger than I'd realized, bigger than just getting my money back. Wednesday afternoon, Jennifer came to my house. I saw her car pull up. I almost didn't answer the door, but I did. She looked terrible, thin, pale, dark circles under her eyes. "Maggie," she said, "can we talk? Please?" I let her in. We sat in the living room, the same living room where she'd sat 100 times before. Family dinners, holidays, birthday parties. Now it felt different. "Maggie, we're going to lose our house," she said. "The mortgage is 3 months behind. If we don't catch up by the end of the month, the bank will foreclose. We'll have nowhere to go." "Jennifer, I know David did wrong. I know he lied. I begged him to tell you. I begged him to ask you for help the right way, but he was so ashamed. He couldn't face you. He couldn't admit we were failing." She was crying now. "The kids don't understand what's happening. Emma keeps asking why Grandma won't see us anymore. Jack cries at night. They miss you, Maggie. They love you." I felt it. The pull, the guilt, the desire to make everything okay. "We could work this out," Jennifer said, "without lawyers, without courts. David could pay you back, $500 a month. We'd sell the Airbnb furniture. We'd do whatever it takes. Just please, please don't sue him." I looked at Jennifer, this woman I'd known for 15 years, the mother of my grandchildren. "Jennifer," I said carefully, "David stole from me. $63,000. For 2 years he lied to my face, every single week, and when I found out, he threatened to keep my grandchildren from me. He was scared. He didn't mean it. He said it. He meant it enough to say it. Maggie, if you do this, you're not just hurting David. You're hurting Emma and Jack. They'll lose their home, their school, everything." And there it was. The manipulation. Make me responsible for David's consequences. "Jennifer," I said, "David made choices. He chose to steal from me. He chose to lie. Those choices have consequences. Those consequences aren't my fault, they're his. But you have the power to stop this. You could drop the lawsuit." "I could, but I won't." Her face changed, hardened. "Then you'll never see Emma and Jack again," she said. "David meant that. And I agree with him. You're choosing money over family, over your grandchildren. What kind of grandmother does that?" She stood up, walked to the door. "Goodbye, Maggie," she said. The door closed. I sat there for a long time. That night my chest hurt, a sharp pain, left side. I tried to ignore it. Stress. Just stress. But it didn't go away. Dorothy took me to urgent care. The doctor ran tests, EKG, blood work. "It's not a heart attack," she said, "but your blood pressure is high, very high, 170/95. You're under significant stress." "Yes?" "You need to manage it, reduce the stress, or you're at risk for a real cardiac event." She prescribed blood pressure medication, told me to follow up with my regular doctor. Dorothy drove me home. "You can't let this kill you, Maggie," she said. "I know. But how do you reduce stress when your whole life is falling apart?" Thursday was my book club meeting. I almost didn't go, but Dorothy insisted. "You need your friends," she said. We met at Linda's house, 6 of us. We were supposed to discuss a mystery novel, but everyone wanted to talk about my situation. Linda had recommended Susan Brennan, the attorney. She was supportive. "You're doing the right thing. My son-in-law stole from me too. I know how hard this is." But Carol had a different opinion. "He's your son," Carol said. "Family is family. You have to forgive." "I haven't said I won't forgive him," I said. "But forgiveness doesn't mean no consequences." "It means exactly that," Carol said. "If you loved him, you'd drop the lawsuit, work it out privately, keep it in the family." "He threatened to keep my grandchildren from me," I said, "because he's scared, because he's desperate. You're backing him into a corner." I felt my blood pressure rising. Dorothy stepped in. "Carol, that's enough. Maggie is the victim here, not David. She's choosing to be a victim. She could choose forgiveness." Linda changed the subject, but the damage was done. The book club was divided. Some supported me. Some thought I was being too harsh. I left early. Friday morning, Susan called. "David's attorney contacted me. They want to settle. Before it goes to court." "Settle how?" "David will pay you $500 a month until the debt is repaid. No interest. Payment plan over 11 years. In exchange, you drop the lawsuit. I did the math. $500 a month times 133 months. That was $66,500. Almost exactly what he owed me. But 11 years. I'd be 79 years old when it was paid off. And no legal enforcement. Just his promise. The same promise he'd broken for 2 years. What do you think? I asked Susan. I think it's not enough. No legal structure, no collateral. Just his word. And we've seen how good his word is. What if we counteroffer? We could, but I don't recommend it. I think we should go to mediation. With a judge or mediator present. Get everything legally binding. Use his house as collateral. If he misses a payment, we put a lien on the property. Won't that guarantee they lose the house? Only if he doesn't pay. If he pays, they keep the house. But it protects you. I thought about Emma and Jack, about them losing their home, but I thought about myself too, about being 79 years old, still waiting for my son to pay me back. Let's go to mediation, I said. Susan paused. Are you sure? This is going to get harder before it gets easier. I'm sure. Saturday morning, David started calling, over and over. I didn't answer. He left voicemails. The first one, Mom, please, just talk to me. We can work this out. The second one, you're destroying our family. Is that what you want? To destroy us? The third one, fine, if this is how you want it, fine. But Emma and Jack will never forgive you. Never. The fourth one, you're being selfish. You have plenty of money. You don't need this, but we do. We need it to survive. And you don't care. The messages got angrier, meaner. I stopped listening to them. Sunday evening, I was in my garden, working the soil, planting new bulbs for next spring, trying to find peace. Dorothy came over. She sat on my porch steps while I worked. How are you? She asked. Tired, I said. Maggie, I need to tell you something. What? My daughter called me. Melissa. We haven't spoken in 5 years. Your estranged daughter? Yes. She said she'd heard what I was going through. With you. With your situation. And it made her think about our relationship, about the boundaries I'd set, about the consequences I'd enforced when she stole from me. What did she say? She said she was sorry. She said she understood now why I'd done what I did. She said she's in therapy, she's getting help, and she wants to try again, to rebuild our relationship. Dorothy's eyes filled with tears. Your story gave me my daughter back, she said. I sat back on my heels, dirt on my hands, the garden quiet around us. I'm glad, I said. Don't give up, Maggie. I know this is hard, but you're doing the right thing. I hoped so. That night I sat at my kitchen table, Jim's navy mug in my hands, empty now. I looked at the photos on my refrigerator, Emma and Jack. Smiling, I missed them so much. But I couldn't go back. I couldn't let David manipulate me. I had to keep going forward, even if forward was lonely, even if forward was hard. Susan had scheduled mediation for the following Tuesday, 2:00. David and Jennifer would be there, with their attorney, and we'd settle this, one way or another. Tuesday, 2:00. Susan's conference room was on the 3rd floor. Large windows, a long wooden table, professional, neutral. I arrived 15 minutes early. Susan was already there organizing papers, evidence binders, 3 of them, everything documented. Ready, she asked, as ready as I'll ever be. Dorothy came with me, not as legal representation, as support. She sat in the waiting room while I went in. At 2:00 exactly, David arrived. Jennifer was with him, and their attorney, a younger man, maybe 40, Michael something. Susan had told me his name, but I'd forgotten it. David looked at me. I looked at him. We hadn't seen each other in person since that day on my porch, 3 weeks ago. He looked thinner, tired, older. I felt nothing. No anger, no sadness, just nothing. The mediator arrived, a retired judge, Sandra Chen, 65 years old, professional, experienced. She'd handled hundreds of family financial cases, Susan had told me. We all sat down, the mediator at the head of the table, Susan and I on one side, David, Jennifer, and their attorney on the other. "Good afternoon," Judge Chen said. "This is a mediation session between Margaret Thompson, plaintiff, and David Thompson, defendant, regarding alleged financial exploitation and property misuse. Both parties have agreed to mediation in hopes of reaching a settlement without going to trial. Is that correct?" "Yes," Susan said. "Yes," David's attorney said. "Mrs. Thompson, you've filed a civil complaint alleging that your son, David Thompson, used your property for commercial rental purposes without your knowledge or permission, profiting approximately $66,000 over 26 months. Is that correct?" "Yes," I said. My voice was steady. "Mr. Thompson, do you dispute these allegations?" David's attorney started to speak, but David put his hand up. "No," David said. "I don't dispute them." His attorney looked at him, surprised. "You don't dispute the facts?" Judge Chen asked. "No, I did it. Everything she said. I rented her basement on Airbnb. I didn't tell her. I used the money for my family. For our bills, for Jennifer's medical expenses. I did it." There was silence. Judge Chen looked at her notes. "That simplifies things. Mr. Thompson, your attorney has proposed a settlement offer, a payment plan of $500 per month for 133 months. Is that still your position?" David's attorney nodded. "Yes, Your Honor." "Mrs. Thompson, your attorney has indicated this is not acceptable. Is that correct?" "Yes," Susan said. "We're seeking full restitution with legal enforcement, a structured settlement with collateral. If Mr. Thompson fails to make payments, we want the right to place a lien on his property." "That would put my client's house at risk," David's attorney said. "Their house is already at risk," Susan said calmly. "They're 3 months behind on the mortgage. My client's money could have prevented that. Instead, Mr. Thompson used it for other purposes while stealing from his mother. That's inflammatory language." "It's accurate language," Susan said. "Mr. Thompson committed financial exploitation. He falsified permission to access the property. He profited from commercial activity on someone else's real estate. These are facts." Judge Chen held up her hand. "Let's review the evidence. Mrs. Thompson, your attorney has submitted 3 binders of documentation. Can you walk me through what you've compiled?" Susan opened the first binder. Binder 1. Digital evidence. The complete Airbnb listing for Mrs. Thompson's property. 48 reviews spanning 26 months. Calendar showing bookings. Screenshots of the host profile under David Thompson's name. Pricing information showing nightly rates of $85 to $110. She slid the binder across the table. Judge Chen reviewed it, page by page. Binder 2. Financial evidence. Bank statements showing regular deposits from Airbnb Inc. into Mr. Thompson's account, totaling $63,847 over 26 months. Utility bills for Mrs. Thompson's property showing increases corresponding to rental activity. Additional cost to Mrs. Thompson, $2,808. She slid that binder across. Judge Chen reviewed it. Her expression was neutral, professional. Binder 3. Physical evidence and witness statements. Photographs of the basement setup. Furniture, kitchenette, smart locks, separate entrance. Receipts for purchases made to furnish the space. Guest logbook with handwritten entries. And witness statements from 2 individuals who can corroborate Mrs. Thompson's lack of knowledge. "I'd like to hear from those witnesses," Judge Chen said. Susan nodded. "Tom Ferraro is available. He's the plumber who first discovered the rental setup. Tom came in. He'd been waiting downstairs. He sat in the witness chair. Judge Chen asked him to describe what he'd found. Tom did, calmly, professionally. I was called to repair Mrs. Thompson's water heater on April 15th. She gave me access to the basement. When we opened the door, I immediately saw that the basement had been converted into living quarters, fully furnished, mini fridge, smart locks. It looked like an apartment. Mrs. Thompson's reaction was genuine shock. She had no idea. She asked me when I thought this had been set up. I told her it looked professionally done. At least a year, maybe more. She was visibly upset, confused. I felt I needed to document what I was seeing, so I took note of the setup. That's when I saw the Airbnb reviews printed on a desk. Mrs. Thompson saw them at the same time I did. In your professional opinion, did Mrs. Thompson know about this rental activity? Judge Chen asked. Absolutely not, Tom said. Her reaction was genuine, and if she'd known, there's no reason she wouldn't have gone down there in 6 months. She couldn't go down there because her son had told her there was water damage. That's what she told me when I arrived. Thank you, Mr. Ferraro. Tom left. Dorothy came in next. Mrs. Patterson, you're Mrs. Thompson's neighbor? Yes, I live 3 houses down. We've been friends for 10 years. Book club every Thursday. I walk my dog past her house every morning. And what did you observe? Different cars in her driveway. Different people coming and going. I thought it was strange. Maggie lives alone. So I mentioned it to her a few months ago. She told me it was probably David, her son, that he was helping with yard work or something. She dismissed it, but I kept noticing. Different people, different times, early mornings, late nights. It didn't make sense. Did you believe Mrs. Thompson knew what was happening? No. If she'd known, she would have told me. We talk about everything. She had no idea. She trusted her son completely. Thank you, Mrs. Patterson. Dorothy left. Judge Chen looked at David. Mr. Thompson, do you have anything to say? David was quiet for a moment. Then he spoke. Mom, he said. He looked at me directly. When did you decide I was a stranger? When did I stop being your son and become this? His voice cracked. I looked at him. My son. The boy from the photographs. The man across the table. David, I said. My voice was steady, measured. When did you decide I was an opportunity? When did I stop being your mother and become someone you could use? I never thought of it like that. Then how did you think of it? Every week you came to my house. You hugged me. You asked about my day. You sat at my kitchen table and ate my food, and then you went down to my basement and counted money you stole from me. Silence. Jennifer was crying quietly. David's attorney looked uncomfortable. David leaned forward, his elbows on the table, his face in his hands. I don't know when it got this bad, he said. I thought I was just borrowing the space. I thought I'd tell you eventually. I thought I could fix everything before you found out. But then months passed, then a year, then 2 years, and I kept lying, and I couldn't stop lying. Every time I came to your house, I told myself I'd tell you that day, but I couldn't. I was too ashamed. He looked up. His eyes were red. I'm sorry, Mom. I'm so sorry. I see what I did. I understand what I did. I destroyed everything. Our relationship, your trust, everything. And I don't know how to fix it. I sat there looking at him. Part of me wanted to reach across the table, to tell him it was okay, to forgive him and move on. But the rest of me knew it wasn't okay. And forgiveness didn't mean no consequences. I believe you're sorry, I said. But sorry doesn't fix this. A settlement does. Judge Chen cleared her throat. Let's discuss terms. Mrs. Thompson is seeking full restitution of $66,655, plus legal fees estimated at $8,000. Total, $74,655. She's also seeking legal enforcement mechanisms. Mr. Thompson, can you pay this amount? No, David said, not all at once. Can you pay it over time? I can try, but our house, we're already behind on the mortgage. Your financial situation is partially the result of your choices, Judge Chen said. You profited $63,000 from this activity. Where did that money go? David's attorney opened a folder. Medical bills, Mrs. Jennifer Thompson's lupus treatment, $40,000 in medical debt. The remainder went to living expenses, mortgage, utilities, food, children's expenses. So the money is gone, Judge Chen said. Yes. Then we need a structured payment plan with consequences for non-payment. Here's what I propose. She pulled out a document. Settlement terms. David Thompson will pay Margaret Thompson $74,655 in full restitution. Payment structure. $1,000 per month for 74 months. Payments due first of each month. If David Thompson misses 2 consecutive payments, Margaret Thompson has the right to place a lien on the Thompson family home. If the home is sold during the payment period, the remaining balance is due immediately from sale proceeds. She looked at David. This protects your mother while giving you a realistic payment schedule. 6 years. You'll be 48 when it's paid off. She'll be 74. If you make the payments, you keep your house. If you don't, she has recourse. What about visitation? Jennifer asked. With Emma and Jack? Judge Chen looked at me. Mrs. Thompson, are you seeking any restrictions on grandparent visitation? I thought about Emma and Jack, about their school pictures on my refrigerator, about how much I miss them. Supervised visits, I said, once a month, at a neutral location for 1 year. After that, we can reassess. That's not fair, Jennifer said. There are children. And I'm their grandmother, I said. Who was threatened? Who was told I'd never see them again? I need boundaries for 1 year. Judge Chen added it to the settlement terms. Are these terms acceptable to both parties? Susan looked at me. I nodded. David looked at his attorney. His attorney looked at the terms. Then he nodded. Yes, David's attorney said. We accept. Mr. Thompson, do you accept these terms personally? David was quiet. Then, yes. Sign here. David signed. I signed. Susan signed. David's attorney signed. Judge Chen witnessed. It was done. The mediation was over. We stood up. David looked at me one more time. Mom, he said, I know I've lost your trust, maybe forever, but I'm going to make these payments, every single one, I promise. I hope you do, I said, and I meant it. We left the conference room. Dorothy was waiting for me in the lobby. She hugged me. How did it go? It's settled, I said. He signed. Good. That's good. We walked to the parking lot. The sun was setting. The sky was orange and pink. I didn't feel triumphant. I didn't feel victorious. I just felt tired. Relieved, maybe, but mostly tired. And sad for what we'd lost. 3 months later, the first check arrived. $1,000. On time. Then the second check, on time, then the third. David was making the payments, and slowly, very slowly, I started to believe he might actually follow through. 6 months after the mediation, my life looked different. The checks kept coming. Every month, first of the month, $1,000. Like clockwork. David was following through. I deposited $6,000 so far. Susan had it documented. Every payment recorded, every receipt saved. If David ever stopped, we had the paper trail, but so far, he hadn't stopped. Tom Ferraro came by in October to do my annual furnished check. We sat in the kitchen afterward drinking coffee. How are you doing, Mrs. Thompson? He asked. Better, I said. The payments are coming. David's keeping his word. Good, that's real good. He paused. You know, what you did... Standing up for yourself, it helped me too. How? My sister. The one I told you about. Her son was stealing from her for years. She never did anything about it. Just let it go, kept making excuses for him. She died last year. He got everything. Spent it all in 6 months. Tom shook his head. When I saw what you did, how you fought back, it made me realize. Sometimes love means boundaries. Sometimes it means consequences. I'm sorry about your sister, I said. Me too. But seeing you fight for yourself, it reminded me that it's possible, that you can love someone and still hold them accountable. He left after that, but his words stayed with me. Dorothy came over for coffee every Sunday morning. It had become our routine. She'd bring pastries, I'd make coffee. We'd sit at my kitchen table and talk. One Sunday in November, she told me about Melissa. "We had dinner last week," Dorothy said. "My daughter. First time in 5 years we sat across a table from each other." "How was it?" "Hard. Good. Both." Dorothy smiled. "She's in therapy. Real therapy. Working on her issues. She apologized. Not just for stealing from me, for the lying, the manipulation, the way she used me. That's wonderful, Dorothy. It wouldn't have happened without you, without seeing you set boundaries with David. Melissa saw what I'd done, setting boundaries with her, and she said it made her realize I was serious, that I loved her enough to let her face consequences. You gave me courage, too," I said. "Watching you survive losing your daughter, watching you rebuild your life without her, it showed me it was possible." She squeezed my hand. We gave each other courage. Susan Brennan called me in December. "Margaret, I wanted to update you. David's made 7 payments, all on time, all documented. Legally, everything is proceeding exactly as structured. If he continues at this rate, the debt will be paid in full by December 2031. You'll be 74. "That seems like a long time," I said. "It is a long time, but it's working, and that's what matters." "Susan, I wanted to thank you for taking my case, for believing me, for fighting for me." "Margaret, you fought for yourself. I just provided the legal structure. You're the one who had the courage to say enough." After we hung up, I thought about that. Courage. I'd never thought of myself as courageous, but maybe I was. Maybe courage isn't dramatic. Maybe it's just saying no when everyone expects you to say yes. The basement transformation happened in November. I couldn't leave it empty forever. It felt wrong, like leaving a wound open. So I turned it into something new. I brought down my sewing machine, my fabric boxes, my quilting supplies. I set up tables, good lighting, a comfortable chair. I painted the walls a soft blue. I put up photos, old family photos, Jim building the rec room, David as a boy, helping him, good memories from before. I turned David's crime scene into my sanctuary, my craft room, where I made quilts for Emma and Jack, where I worked on projects for the church donation drive, where I sat and created things. The basement wasn't haunted anymore. It was mine. In December, I had my first supervised visit with Emma and Jack at a family center downtown, a neutral place with toys and games and a supervisor who sat quietly in the corner. Emma was 8 now, almost 9. She'd grown. Her hair was longer. Jack was 6. He'd lost his 2 front teeth. They ran to me when they came in, hugged me. I held them and I cried. I'd missed them so much. We played games, we colored, we talked. Emma told me about school. Jack told me about soccer. They didn't ask why we weren't at my house. They didn't ask about the lawsuit. They were just happy to see their grandma. When the hour was up, Jennifer came to pick them up. She didn't say anything to me, just collected the kids and left. But the next month, we had another visit, and another, every month, like clockwork. I was rebuilding my relationship with my grandchildren, slowly, carefully, with boundaries. My estate planning happened in January. Susan helped me. I met with a financial planner. We restructured everything. The house would go to Emma and Jack when I died, not to David. A trust would manage it until they were 25. They'd inherit equally. David would have no access. My investments, my savings, my pension, all protected, all structured to go to the grandchildren, with clear terms. No one could manipulate it. No one could steal it. My legacy was secure. David sent me a letter in February, handwritten, 3 pages. He told me he was in therapy, individual counseling, marriage counseling with Jennifer. He was working on himself, understanding why he'd done what he'd done. Shame, pride, fear of failure. He told me he loved me, that he understood if I never forgave him, that he was committed to making the payments, all 74 of them. He told me he was teaching Emma and Jack about honesty, about integrity, about consequences. He was using his own mistakes to teach them better. I read the letter 3 times. I didn't write back. Not yet. Maybe someday. But I kept the letter. Valentine's Day. Dorothy invited me to a widow's support group she'd been attending. "You're not technically a widow of loss," she said, "but you're a widow of betrayal. Your son stole something from you. Trust, security, family. Those are losses, too." I went with her. 12 women, all older, all navigating life after loss, different kinds of loss, but loss nonetheless. I told my story. Some of the women nodded, some cried, some shared their own stories of family betrayal. One woman, Patricia, said something that stuck with me. "You can grieve what you lost and still be glad you survived it." I thought about that a lot. I was grieving. Grieving the relationship I'd thought I had with David, grieving the illusion of my perfect family, grieving the grandmother role I'd imagined, but I was also surviving, rebuilding, creating something new. Both could be true. March brought spring. I was in my garden again, planting, weeding. The perennials came back, the flowers Jim and I had chosen years ago. They came back every year, faithful. I thought about Jim sometimes, wondered what he'd think of all this. Would he be proud of me? Disappointed in David? I'd never know, but I knew this. I'd survived. I'd fought. I'd protected myself. And I was okay. Not happy, not healed, not whole, but okay. And okay was enough. 1 year later, April 15th, 2026. Exactly 1 year since Tom Ferraro came to fix my water heater and discovered what my son had been doing in my basement. I'm standing in that basement now, but it looks nothing like it did that day. The sewing machine hums. Sunlight comes through the windows. No curtains anymore, just clean glass. The walls are soft blue. My quilting table is covered with fabric. I'm making a quilt for Emma's 9th birthday. She'll get it at our supervised visit next Saturday. This basement used to be David's playroom, the place where he laughed at his father's clown costume, where Jim built him a rec room with his own hands. Then it became David's crime scene, the place where he stole from me for 26 months, where strangers slept while I had no idea. Now it's my sanctuary, my craft room, the place where I create things, where I'm at peace. Playroom, crime scene, sanctuary. That's the journey. David's made 12 payments now, $12,000 on time every month, no missed payments. Susan says if he keeps this pace, we'll be paid in full by December 2031. I'll be 74 years old. That's a long time to wait, but I'm waiting, and he's paying. We don't talk. Not yet. Maybe someday. But not yet. I see Emma and Jack once a month. Supervised visits. They're growing up. Emma plays violin now. Jack joined Little League. They tell me about their lives. I tell them about mine. We're rebuilding. Slowly. Jennifer and I pass each other at pickup. We don't speak, but the hostility has faded. Now it's just distance. Maybe that's enough. My house is mine again. My basement is mine. My peace is mine. Nobody's going to take advantage of me again. My estate is secured, everything protected. Emma and Jack will inherit the house when I'm gone. Not David. A trust manages it. Clear terms. No manipulation possible. I updated my will, my power of attorney, my healthcare directives, everything documented with Susan's help. If something happens to me, my wishes are clear. My assets are protected. David won't inherit my mistakes again. But I did something else too. I started volunteering at the senior center. Once a week, Thursday afternoons, I teach a class on financial protection, how to spot exploitation, how to set boundaries, how to protect yourself from family members who might take advantage. 12 seniors come every week. Most of them have stories like mine. Sons who stole, daughters who manipulated, grandchildren who guilted them into bad loans. I tell them what I learned. Trust is earned. Boundaries aren't cruel. Saying no to family doesn't make you a bad person. It makes you a person who respects yourself. Dorothy comes with me sometimes. She tells her story too, about Melissa, about setting boundaries, about how sometimes losing someone temporarily is what saves them permanently. Linda from book club volunteers too, her son-in-law's story. Carol stopped coming to book club after we argued, but the other 4 are still there. Thursday nights. We're closer now, bonded by understanding. I'm not just surviving anymore. I'm helping others survive. That feels good. If you're listening to this, maybe you see yourself in my story. Maybe you have a child who's taking advantage of you. Maybe it's not money. Maybe it's time, energy, your house, your car, your trust. Maybe you keep making excuses. They're family. They're struggling. They need help. Maybe you feel guilty for even thinking about boundaries. I understand. I was you. But here's what I learned. Love without boundaries isn't love. It's enabling. It's giving someone permission to hurt you. Again and again. You can love your children and still hold them accountable. You can be a good parent and still say no. You can want to help and still protect yourself. Those things aren't contradictions. They're survival. I'm 69 years old now. I live alone in the house I've owned for 35 years. I have coffee every morning at my kitchen table. Same window, same mug, Jim's old Navy mug with the chipped handle. But I'm different now. I'm not the woman who avoided conflict, who trusted blindly, who put everyone else's needs ahead of my own dignity. I'm the woman who fought back, who said enough, who chose herself. And you know what? I'm okay with that. Some days, I'm angry. Some days, I'm sad. Some days, I miss the relationship I thought I had with David, the illusion of it. But most days, I'm just here, living my life, on my terms, in my house, with my peace. Every morning at 8:15, Dorothy walks Buster past my house. She waves through the kitchen window. I wave back with my coffee mug. I'm not alone. I have my people, the ones who supported me, who believed me, who didn't tell me to just forgive and forget. Thursday nights, book club, Sunday mornings, coffee with Dorothy, Saturday afternoons, quilting in my basement sanctuary. This is my life now. Not the life I planned when I was 67, not the life I imagined, but it's mine. And it's honest. And it's enough. If you're in a situation like I was, get help. Talk to an attorney. Document everything. Set boundaries. Protect yourself. You deserve to be treated with respect, even by your own children, especially by your own children. I'm Maggie Thompson. I thought I knew my children. I thought I knew my son. I was wrong. But now I know myself. And that's worth more than I ever imagined.